All right, John, you wanted to discuss social media, which is always topical. And I'm curious because you've got some information about how it's impacting our lives. And I want to know whether I should with the like smiley emoji, share it.
Yeah,
What should I do?
right,
But
right.
yeah,
Okay, so social media is increasing like the pretty much depression, anxiety, loneliness, and self harm, and suicidal thoughts in the average American. We're seeing in those topics of effects in people, we're seeing like pretty much a 40% jump since 2016. And I guess I want to get your thoughts. Like, do you feel like that social media is affecting people like that around you, or do you think this is just pretty much like Forbes writing it to write it, or like how bad do you think social media is actually affecting our world?
Well, first of all, I know I would have gone with a much less chipper intro when I realized how dark a turn you were going to make with that.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, I mean, I definitely think, yeah, social media is having an impact. And I think a lot of it is that it's kind of exacerbating both the positive and the negative influences
yeah,
of our world. So in the
yeah,
same way that, the internet's this great, connector and communicator, and it's cool that I could message somebody, from Japan
yeah,
and meet people in this way. It also means that things, like cyberbullying or really, just like bullying became cyberbullying.
yeah,
And now, again, those negative influences are just easier for people.
hmm,
There's a lot more misinformation that's spread on social media.
hmm,
And, we think of that as a grand scale. But again, that could be a localized thing too, that could affect somebody's life
yeah,
and, like their health and well being. So, yeah, it's tough because it's kind of, especially now, you can't live without it. But
yeah.
living with it seems to have its own downsides as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So right now, studies show that the average person spending 147 minutes on social media per day, which is pretty much 2 hours and 27 minutes, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you think that's like too much time, or do you think that's like a good time for get that's you think that's like too much or too little, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah. I don't even know if I think it's too much or too little, so much as like now I'm judging myself and I'm like, where do I fall in?
Yeah.
Like, am I one Lord of the Rings movie or am I because honestly, I'm like, oh man, I think just scrolling alone, even not interacting on like Instagram, I'm like, I'm sure that pushes me up into like almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, like there's benefits. I love, especially like YouTube. You can get entertainment out of it. I
Yeah.
genuinely just had to build a guitar stand that came with no instructions.
Yeah.
But guess who had instructions? YouTube. And
Yeah.
that was helpful, but that technically qualifies for this, I'm sure.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess YouTube could be one of those things where, like I'll listen to YouTube and I'm listening to a podcast driving to work, or,
Yeah.
like listening to music. So I guess you could social media, but, I mean, that doesn't really count. I guess, like,
Yeah.
do you think people like, I guess your job requires you to be on social media a little bit. So you're
It
probably going to be
does.
above the average person. But I
Yeah.
guess when it's your job, it's a little different. Um,
Yeah, it's funny you say that because yeah, I've talked about this a little bit before, but I do marketing and I always feel like I have to explain, especially sometimes I've had bosses that aren't as into social media. So if
yeah.
they see me on social media, I have to kind of almost be like, no, 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 this is for work. I'm not just
Yeah.
messing around on, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. So yeah, but yeah, if you don't I don't know. Like I think about like my personal lives, and especially as I've gotten older, I've reconnected with friends from high school,
Yeah.
and so many times when I meet them in person, I feel like I'm apologizing. Like I know we haven't talked together in a year, and I always say like I feel bad because sometimes I have to remind myself that liking a post isn't the same as like telling them like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm excited that you got that job opportunity," or even just a comment on a
Yeah.
post. It's not the same. So I think it's easy for us to get lost in the online world and feel like it's the same as what we would do in person.
Yeah.
So that's yeah. I mean, I've been fortunate. I haven't had to deal with like some of the other negative stuff that
Yeah.
we've talked about.
Yeah.
So to me, that's like where it's a downside for me personally.
Yeah. I feel like social media, I mean, I feel like it's definitely going to do harm to our world if it grows anymore. I think we're kind of like at that peak. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it's not affecting people's lives and families that much to the point where it's like dangerous. But like if it keeps growing from like, because if you go back to 2016, like how much people were using social media, how much kids are using social media, it's like little to none compared to like right now. And then
Yeah,
so like what's going to be in the next 4 or 5 years, because technology is one of those things that grows faster and faster and faster and faster. So 4 years of growth from 2016 to now, from 4 years to the next 4 years, it's going to be so much different compared to the 4 years that we've seen. And I think we're kind of at that point where it needs to just stay steady. You know, like I'm happy
yeah,
for the people that make livings off social media. I'm happy for the people that find joy out of social media. I find joy out of social media myself. But I feel like, you know, if it gets past 2.5 hours pretty much, I mean, you got to think the other, you know, 8 to 9 hours you're sleeping. So you're like
yeah,
consuming a lot of your life on social media and it's almost like unhealthy. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like your family wants to see you, you know, it's, I don't know, but it's also one of
yeah,
those things like, how do you really crack down on people on social media? Because also, like, now you're affecting people's freedom. If they want to spend 8 hours on social media a day, you can't like tell them not to, but like, I don't know. It's a really touchy subject because it's like, you can't really stop it, you know,
yeah.
from it, it's kind of sad in a way, I feel like. So
Well, yeah. I mean, I think some like I'd already to start disagree. I think it has had a broader impact purely in the misinformation.
mhm,
So I think that has definitely affected a lot of families, a lot of communities, a lot of countries.
yeah,
And I think that, instead of policing the individual, and this
yeah,
is kind of something that, because, where you can get quickly into the realm of politics, but I think kind of both sides see the need to kind of do more as far as reining in these Silicon Valley companies.
mhm,
And I think that's personally where it's at more
yeah,
is it's kind of like the campaign for smoking. So
yeah,
yeah, to a degree, you are having to tell the individual, hey, smoking's bad for you, for A, B, and C reasons.
yeah,
But also, it's like, hey, also Joe Camel, maybe stop selling your cigarettes to kids. I don't
yeah,
know, that could help. So
yeah,
similarly, yeah, like social media companies, and this is the way the algorithms work, especially like YouTube's again a good example. They
yeah,
want you to stay on the platform for as long as possible. So
right,
like if people watch this video to the end,
mhm,
YouTube is excited because that means, oh, cool. That means there's engagement. We're going to
mhm,
put this up there. They're going to see more of the ads that are around, like our faces.
yeah,
They're going to see like in video ads, and that's what gets YouTube paid.
mhm,
So yeah, it's tough because yeah, the companies have an incentive to keep people on there. But yeah, it is that going back to the individual, it is that balance of freedoms, and bringing in misinformation again. It's like we don't want to stop. One of the best freedoms of America is the freedom of speech.
yeah,
So it's like they've qualified certain things that people say, or they may put disclaimers, but they still want you to have the ability to say it. But like,
mhm,
yeah, I know I just went all over the place, but
yeah.
yeah, there's a lot to it.
No, there's a lot to social media. I mean, clearly, but I mean, yeah. So, I mean, if you guys know or have any suggestions or have any comments on what we just discussed, whether you think social media is bad or good, if you have any inputs on how we can, I guess, in a way, fix or not fix this issue, maybe we're completely nutcases and we shouldn't be fixing social media. I don't know, but drop in the comments, like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, we'd love to hear from you. Until then, check out all our other videos on chat room.
Yep. Deuces.